So the Department of Justice has recently sued Apple, and while Apple has dealt with similar situations before, this is not your regular complaint. This 88-page document reveals some shocking things about the way Apple operates and accuses them of being a monopoly. And honestly, after reading this, my view of Apple has changed notably. What's up guys, this is AK and let's take a dive into this report and analyze the accusations that the DOJ has made regarding Apple. So there are 5 concerns that the DOJ raises, so I'll break this video into 5 categories as well as a category for other things which don't exactly fit the other 5. Let's start with super apps. These are apps that have multiple functions in one package. An example is WeChat in China, which not only allows users to communicate like in WhatsApp, but also allows them to book cabs, order food and play games. It's like Uber, Facebook and Candy Crush all built into one app. I wonder how people navigate through such feature-heavy apps. The reason why such apps don't exist in the US is because Apple doesn't want them. Take a look at this statement. The fact that they're able to control the app market in such a manner basically shows that they look at themselves as the boss. Apple's biggest market, after all, are the Americas, and Apple doesn't want to hurt that. Another way Apple makes iPhones exclusive is by not allowing third-party app stores. Apple wanted to have a strong control over the apps and services that are available on the iPhone. The best way to do that is to only use the inbuilt App Store where all the apps are monitored and regulated by Apple. Just like how Google Play is exclusive to Android, the App Store is exclusive to Apple and there is no app market that is available for both platforms. Therefore, all the apps on your iPhone are approved by Apple and they often take advantage of this power. Why do you think Spotify doesn't allow subscriptions in the app? That's because Apple charges a 30% commission on revenue and in-app purchases. They have a big reach, and if developers want to reach a large audience, they have no choice but to pay Apple. Next, let's talk about cloud gaming. Cloud gaming is the ability to stream games instead of downloading them. You can still play them like other games, the only difference is that you won't require a powerful hardware. Imagine GTA 5 on an iPhone 5. That's what Apple is concerned about. Every year during the September keynote, Apple talks about the performance of their new iPhone, how it's 2 years ahead of any Android phone in the market. Apple uses this to their advantage. They blocked cloud-based gaming on the iPhone because it reduces reliability on the iPhone's hardware. So what good is that powerful, ahead of its time hardware anymore? Another restriction that Apple imposes is that if a developer does want to create cloud-based games for the iPhone, they have to be unique in design and meet the guidelines laid by Apple. Apple makes the prospect of cloud-based gaming on the iPhone look so unattractive that no developer wants to make them for the iPhone. Some of you may know that Apple has recently eased their cloud gaming policies, but companies like Microsoft, which own Xbox, still feel that Apple hasn't eased their policies enough to allow fair monetization of games. Now this is a topic that most of you will be familiar with. We all know that if you want to send an iMessage, we can only send it from an iPhone to an iPhone. At this point, it's just Apple being Apple and reserving the premium experience for their devices. The blue bubble versus green bubble debate has been going on for a very long time because even after so many years, you can't send an iMessage to an Android phone. So there are 2 types of messaging. The first one is a regular SMS, which is nothing fancy, just text between 2 parties. In some cases, photographs. And then there's OTT messaging like WhatsApp, which includes all the features you love like sending media, voice recordings, read receipts and reactions. SMS functionality is built into all phones, but OTT messaging can only be done through an app like Signal, WhatsApp or iMessage. Apple is constantly trying to undermine, or in other words, limit the functionality of third-party messaging apps by giving iMessage extra features. Suppose you send a text message and an image to an Android phone. 1. Your conversations won't be encrypted, and 2. Your photos will be grainy and pixelated. In my experience, they won't even send at all. So it makes other users who don't own an iPhone feel as if they're inferior. Apple is making themselves look good by making others look bad. Apple Watch users know that if you own one, you cannot switch out from an iPhone because that will make your expensive accessory useless. When it comes to smartwatches, Apple once again applies the same tactic. Make other smartwatches look bad by limiting their functionality to make the Apple Watch look good. You may ask, what about cellular watches then? Watches that can independently receive notifications and make calls. If you want to use that with your iPhone, you need 2 separate numbers. I knew that this ecosystem was heavily guarded, but I've never felt this suffocated. Do you use Apple Pay? I do, and I find it really convenient. But have you ever thought of using other apps that do the exact same thing? No, because they don't exist. Apple purposely blocks this feature on the iPhone. Apple understands how integral contactless payments are becoming in our lives, and they, once again, use that to their advantage. Even if you want to make in-app purchases, you can only use Apple Pay. You don't even realize this, but this is one of those things that holds you back from switching to another brand, setting up a brand new wallet. If Apple offered a cross-platform wallet, switching phones would be much easier, which is exactly what Apple doesn't want. Apple Wallet is the only app which can use NFC to make payments. Of course, that's not all. There are so many things that Apple does that we as users don't even realize. Things like WebKit, eSIM, or even iCloud. If all your memories and files are stored in iCloud, why would you switch to Android? At this point, I also want to bring up the most notably similar case, which was the 1990 Microsoft Monopoly case. This case centered on Microsoft's dominance in the PC operating space with Windows, also because it allowed no other browser other than the late Internet Explorer to be the default browser. In the end, while Microsoft did avoid being split up, it had to change some of its policies to allow for fair competition in the web browser space. Now, looking back at Apple, there are many ways in which it quashes competition. So I'd say by the end of this, they'll have to revise some of their policies like allowing third-party app stores. Will this affect iPhone sales? For prudent consumers, yes, but I believe that majority of the Apple audience will stick with Apple for one very obvious reason: user experience. Things such as the ability to airdrop files from your phone to your Mac to your iPad. And think about people who've been using iPhones since they were teens, which is statistically 87%. They will switch to Android even if it's slightly easier. So of course there's the argument that a company should be free to do what it thinks is correct to pursue its business objectives, that a company should be allowed to find ways to make money. I agree with that too, but that can happen if one company has created a business so big that leaves no room for other companies to have a fair fight. They're taking advantage of the free market competition, which is why they need to be regulated. We could be enjoying so much more convenience if Apple wasn't greedy for market share. If you've made it this far into the video and are someone who absolutely loves Apple, I understand if your trust has been eroded slightly. Even though we as users can't do much, this is a very compelling case by the US government, and if it was anyone else, I wouldn't have seen them winning, but right now, I see room for change. That is it for today's video, guys. Hope you guys found this video informative and helpful. If you did, drop a like on this video. I will really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more such videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.